Hey guys, today I'm going to show you all how to film fisheye, whether it's for lines, gaps, manual lines, whatever. Stationary, tripod, fisheye. I'll also give some tips on smoothing out your camera and having everything flow well and how to fade in and out of filming certain tricks, and also give my fisheye settings. Okay, so I'm going to be playing on Berlin for most of this tutorial just because this map's pretty well rounded, has everything I need to showcase to you all about filming and stuff. Also looks pretty good. The first thing is my XL graphics settings, which these are the ones I use for the post-processing and stuff. You want to make sure if you're using XL graphics and like using lens distortion and stuff, you have TAA on because it makes such a big impact on how good your clips look. Okay, so for my fisheye settings, I have motion blur, vignette, FOV override, and lens distortion. You don't really need the other ones. You can kind of mess with them. You can use light if you want, depending on the map. Here's my light settings if you want them. I change them depending on the map, obviously, but these are what I use most of the time. For motion blur, these are the settings I have. It's very little, if any. I change it depending if I'm filming long lens or fisheye, but for fisheye, I usually just keep this on. And then for vignette, these are the settings I have. And for lens distortion, I have these settings. And for FOV override, I usually keep it around 120. You can kind of change it between 110 and 130, but I usually keep it around 120. Okay, so I'm going to try to get a line for you all. I'm just going to hop up onto this manual pad and then probably do a trick onto this ledge. Hop off, maybe do like a flat ground trick, and then do a gap over this. Probably one of the harder lines to do filming fisheye because it's hard to keep your camera balancing out through all of this without it going crazy, but I'll show you how I do it. So I'm going to try to do a frontside flip and then a switch blunt on this ledge, then a trick in between, and then a gap at the end. Damn it. Close. That's a little sloppy, but I'll take it. Literally just watch my clip back, see how it looks. Like orbit cam or whatever. I usually trim it where I want it to end and get it all trimmed up and good. Start a little bit before and a little bit after. So the settings I'm in right now, I'm just in free cam, and I'm in the same XL graphics settings I showed earlier. You can do this without the XL graphics, it's just, I like how it looks better and it feels more authentic to me and just looks more authentic. But you can definitely do it without. Some older videos have it without, but it's actually, I think it's kind of harder to film clips without the XL graphics, personally. Yeah, so I never really start in the beginning. I usually start where the first trick is, at the beginning of the line. Not the direct beginning, but where the tricks start, mostly. And I also usually try to think, like, I usually try to set my first keyframe on where, like, a filmer would be. Like, obviously, you wouldn't want to get an angle right here if you're a photographer. You want to be, like, right up in it, you know. I usually try to get a good keyframe first, and I'll adjust later. I do pan my camera sometimes. I usually try to face it at the angle the board is in. So if the board right now is turned this direction, see how it lines up with the bottom white bar? I usually try to line the board up with the bar, but it's obviously really torqued to the side, so I'll just have it a little bit turned. Usually how I figure out what direction I want to pan the camera. I'm going to put one frame here in the beginning of the kickflip. And since he's landed and the board is straight, I'm going to have the camera come back a little bit. I usually try to keep the skater always focused in the center of the screen. I'll bring the camera along. I have no real order in which I put keyframes. I kind of just put as many as I think I need, and then I go back and watch it, and the more jittery it is, I'll delete some and adjust from there. But a good reference point is to put one in like the beginning, middle, and end of a trick. So right here on this flat, the way to make this look smoother most of the time is just to skip a decent amount on flat ground stuff where there's not a lot of left and right movement. It's just kind of like a straight path. I'll put this to right here. I'll show you all why I do this in a second. Yeah, it's not going to catch anything, right? So I go in the middle of it. And then I'll put the camera close to him to see how it plays. The last keyframe always bugs out, but I'll just keep going. And then since he's turning to the left here, I'm going to pan the camera in like this so the camera will kind of turn with him. And then we'll go right up here to the last trick. The last trick usually the hardest one to make look very good, because a lot of the times in the last trick the camera speed, because you're in a line, and usually the last trick you want to kind of like have the camera stop at the gap if it's like your line is ending at a gap, and the camera speed will usually slow down, so it's kind of hard to keep that up. Also, for reference, at the end of your line, always put 2 keyframes. For some reason, the last keyframe in this game and the first keyframe will always bug out unless you put 2 at the beginning and end. And then I'm going to go back and film the beginning of this line. I think what I'm going to do, this is where the kickflip begins. Since my camera's turned and stuff, because he does the kickflip, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the camera, probably have it pan in from the ground, like here. We'll see how this looks. A little bad. So here, we'll watch this. Yeah, so this is pretty much just speed running your keyframes and just seeing what looks good, and then just going back and fixing them and smoothing them out. So I'm gonna go back and work on the rest of the line. I'll probably fix the ending up in a little bit. I might scrap the idea I have. So on this frontside flip, he's not really centered, and he's cutting off right there, like half his leg and stuff. I'm gonna adjust that right here. But see, since the camera gets all wobbly right here between these 2 keyframes, so I'm gonna delete this one. See what it looks like. So that's way better. I actually kind of like how after he does the trick here, he kind of skates towards the camera. So on this nose blunt, okay, so on this nose blunt, on the landing he doesn't even land in frame, so I'm gonna move the camera back and down a little bit. That looks relatively smooth. So I don't like how fast that transfer is. Actually, okay, so this all looks pretty good to me right here, starting from here. Might put a keyframe here because he's going up a little bit. Okay, so in between these 2 keyframes, he goes out of focus a lot. I'm gonna go in the center and place one about right here. I go a little further back on this one too. I like how his board cuts off right here. So that looks decent. I don't like how these pan to the left really hard. I'm gonna move them to the right. So this looks decent. For the last trick most of the time. I'll show you how to film a stationary tripod fisheye clip at the end of the last trick. This is what I have for right now. I don't like how this cuts off. Alright, so here's the recording of the first clip. Okay, so normally in the replays, in the clip I just showed, for example, I usually use the triggers. So if you hold down the right trigger, it plays at 100% speed, like this. But if you ease on the trigger, it'll slow it down. It's a good way to do in-game ramp slow-mo. So for example, I'll hold it down here and then halfway let it go through the kickflip. And then speed it back up, then halfway let it go, and speed it back up. A very easy way to do ramp slow-mos in-game. It also warps the sound and everything, so pretty nice. Okay, so next what I'm going to do, I'm going to retrim this clip. I only need the last portion of it. I'm going to film a separate angle for the last trick. Delete your keyframes if they're still there. I'm going to film, it's going to be a tripod, but it's not going to be classified under a tripod. It'll still be a free cam. I think at an angle from like close to underneath it, it's gonna look pretty good. So I usually think of it from like a photography perspective of like what picture would look good and what angle would look good in a picture. It's like this right here looks pretty good, like something like this. So I usually try to get that in the clip. I'm gonna go down a little bit. So this will work. I'm gonna put a keyframe in the center of the trick, like where he's in the center of the screen most of the time, or midway through the trick. I'm gonna turn the camera to line up with the board. I usually, whenever I film stationary like tripod fisheye clips, I usually only try to do 3 keyframes, so like one in the middle, one in the beginning, one in the end. So the one in the beginning is going to be from around here. I kind of want to pan it into the graffiti. Just make sure you do 2 keyframes in the beginning. And it look like that, smooth. And then for the last one, it's going to go this way. And see, depending on where you put him in this last frame, whether he's like here, you're going to have your camera make more of a harsh adjustment. It's going to make a hard right. Whereas if he's closer to the right side of the camera right here, you turn it a little bit. We can see how this looks. It should have more of a smooth adjustment. And see, depending on right here, for me, he's too far to the right. So what I'm going to do is on this keyframe, I'm going to move my camera to the right a little bit. Delete the keyframe, add the new one. And see, now he's perfect. I'm going to drag these keyframes out to where he does the power slide though. End it there. So at the end of this, I'm going to show you how to put these 2 clips together so that they flow in sync and line up well together. In my opinion, the best way to have these 2 tricks look together is to have one fisheye follow cam through the line. And then when he does the hard flip, on the slow-mo of the hard flip, it transfers to the tripod fisheye clip for another angle. And you can do that. You don't have to necessarily do a tripod fisheye clip for the gap. You could do long lens, whatever. Yeah, but this is the way I edit these type of lines. In my opinion, it's the best way. What works for me, at least. So that's it. Deuces, gamers.